Hey everybody, this is Sarah Spencer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution here at Bobby Dodd Stadium. With Georgia Tech's season opener against Clemson fast approaching and the Jackets looking to avoid a fourth consecutive 3-win season, I stopped by practice to see how preseason has been going. I'll be joined by coordinators, players, and my coworker Ken Segura, so tune in. It's offensive coordinator Chip Long's first season at the helm, but one guy giving the Jackets a little bit of continuity on offense, returning starter at quarterback Jeff Sims. Long said that honestly, Sims has been like another coach out there this preseason.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Jeff. He's really taken upon himself to improve his game. Like I said last time I talked to you guys, right when spring was over, from the summer, you can just see a gradual guy getting better and better and better, getting more comfortable with certain guys, certain schemes. And just can't say enough, like any quarterback, you're gonna have your good and bad days. But he's been very impressive, just running the operation, being another coach out there and gluing things together for me. It's been really nice.
Defensive coordinator Andrew Thacker also stopped by, and unfortunately, I asked him his least favorite question, so check it out.
Hey, whether it's in scrimmages or whether it's just the whole preseason, is there anyone who's really stood out to you and impressed you?
Man, I respect the questions. I hate those questions because anyone that I speak positively about, right, that does a disservice to so many guys that are doing a great job. I'll take an easy route to start. The older guys that we have. I just mentioned some: Jalen King, Charlie Thomas, AC Lee. I think the consistency that they come with every single day, the leadership that they provide off the field, we hold those guys to a high standard, but they make coaching easier. And then I'll bite on your question a little bit. I'll give you some guys that I think are most improved within a camp setting. I'm afraid to give him a compliment, but I love him to death. I think David Turner is doing a great job with Akilo Stone. He's kind of a rotational defensive tackle that's strung together a couple of really good practices. I'm very proud of him. I don't want to do him a disservice and let him hear this, but I'm proud of his. And then I'll give you one young guy that of the freshman class that's ahead of the curve in his maturity is Clayton Powell-Lee. So those are kind of some outlier guys, and then trying to always be fair to the older guys. And there's plenty more that I'm going to be remiss with, but I'll answer your question that way if that's fair.
Offensive lineman Jordan Williams spoke about how the Jackets have spent this preseason developing a lot of chemistry, seeing as how there's so many new faces on the team. One guy you can't really trust though, tackle Corey Robinson, and here's why.
I'm gonna give y'all a little inside scoop. We can't trust Corey too much. He don't like a lot of things. He don't like cheese. Like, who doesn't like cheese? He don't like cartoons. I don't know who don't like cartoons. Like, he don't like Cartoon Network. I thought that was weird. But on the field, hey man, on the field I respect him though. I respect him on the field because he be out there doing his thing. I actually didn't even know that he was like a year below me. So just being out there and everything, as young as he is, like him and Jakaya are gonna be real good down the road, like super good.
One of the biggest things that plagued the Jackets defense last season was actually miscommunication. Linebacker Charlie Thomas, a senior, spoke about how that has been one of the biggest focuses for them this preseason, cleaning that up heading into fall.
Two biggest things we've been working on really like communication, pre-snap, post-snap, whatever it may be, and then also just staying together no matter what. Like, stuff gonna happen, but we just gotta be together and keep playing for each other. Them the two biggest things, really.
I'm joined by my colleague Ken Segura. Ken, give me your biggest takeaways from Georgia Tech's preseason camp.
Sure. Well, the first thing probably is they've looks like they'll get through healthy. It's always probably the first goal. The second thing is it's kind of interesting. I think every team talks about chemistry and how well things are going. With this team, I think there were 32 new players, new scholarship players, transfers and freshmen, and so that's a lot of new bodies to incorporate. But I think one thing you hear a lot about is, they've incorporated into the fold well, and guys are getting along, and it seems like they have a good feel for each other. So that's another thing. And then the other thing is, obviously on paper there's a lot of questions you have about this team, but just from talking to coaches and players, they feel good about the team they have. Obviously they start out with a really tough one against Clemson in a couple weeks, and so we'll see. But I think they feel good about where they are.
Given all that turnover, what do you see as this team's strengths and weaknesses, or is it a little hard to know just yet?
It's probably a little hard to know. I think, clearly the biggest strength is running back. They lost Jahmyr Gibbs, an All-American back. He transferred to Alabama, but they've done a good job of restocking and bringing in kids from the portal. So they're good there. Jeff Sims is a 3-year starter. I think there's some questions about how much progress he'll make, but he's someone that I think they feel good about. Question marks on both sides of the line. They've lost a lot of really key players there, and you're not sure about the depth they have there, or just kind of the players coming in to replace them. So that's an area that there's questions about. So that'd be the places you would start. And obviously the schedule is a huge, I don't know if it's a question mark, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna make it really hard for them to have the season they want.
There's a lot there. Give me your impression of Jeff Sims, expectations for him, and also his receiving core. What does he have to work with?
Sure. So Jeff, as I said, he's going his 3rd year as a starter. The first 2 years he was Dave Patino, the coordinator, who was fired at the end of last season. So they brought in Chip Long, who's a coordinator with a really strong track record, and then Chris Wenke to be the quarterback's coach. So I think they like how that's worked out. I think what you see of him in practice so far, he looks more accurate, maybe more confident. I think he likes the setup he has. And then receivers, you lose Kyrick McGowan, who was a slot receiver, did really well for them last year. But you bring in E.J. Jenkins is a guy that we've heard a lot about. He's a transfer from South Carolina. He's 6'7", he's 240 pounds, something like that. So he's a potential mismatch for the offense. So that's someone they're looking at. And then Malachi Carter is another guy that coming back, because I think they're hoping for more from. So there's question marks, but there's certainly reasons to think that they could turn out okay.
I know it's hard to pinpoint so early, but what are some of the biggest things Georgia Tech needs to execute to avoid another 3-win season?
Right. Well, defensively, they got to be better. They were, one of the weakest teams in FBS last year. They made some changes as far as how they're going to get coached up and moving some guys around. Jeff Collins has made he's made himself more available to the defensive staff to add his expertise. So that's one area that you feel like they should be better in, just in terms of being coordinated. And then one thing you've heard a lot from them is that with the secondary they had last year, you would think they would have been much better than they were. A lot of really talented guys, but communication was a real issue. And then and just really trust. And so they have a new, it's an almost entirely new secondary. They have a new secondary coach in Tavares Tillman. So you're thinking just guys being in the right place. Maybe they don't have the experience, but that'll be a help. And then they only had 3 interceptions last year, another area where they got to be better. And then really another key part is Keon White, the defensive end. He didn't play a lot last year. You wrote about him. He's healthy. I think they're someone that they're looking at him as he can be a potential consistent pass rush threat, which is something they really haven't had. So those are some of the areas where they've got to be better if they want to have the kind of season they're hoping for.
There you have it from Ken. We're going to be doing videos like this all season long, so make sure you check back and follow along on ajc.com. Ken, thank you so much.
You bet.